I had my four grandkids over this morning, and they all come to eat pão de queijo.
This is so
Yeah.
delicious. All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Bezerra Spiritual Healing Center. We are a non-denominational spiritist center, and here we respect all religions, all spiritual traditions. So everybody's welcome to bring your thoughts, your questions. We are here to learn and for us to grow together. Before we start the announcements, we always begin our service with a prayer. So I would like just to ask our sister Gina to come up and give our opening prayer. For all those who are not speaking, please make sure you have your microphone muted. Thank you.
Let us close our eyes. And from our heart, let us put our attention on our Heavenly Father, Mother God, our beloved Jesus Christ, to all the mentors of this spiritual community, and your personal mentor. And let us give thanks for allowing us another day to work on our spiritual growth, our future life, our well-being. We thank you, Heavenly Father, for this opportunity. We ask that you open our heart, our mind, to accept this lesson that we have coming before us in any way that it may help us and benefit us for our growth. May you bless this meeting today in your name, as only you can do. Bless the opening of our service. So be it, and so it is.
And so it is. Thank you, sister. All right, everyone. Gina, once more, thank you for the beautiful prayer. BSH is a member of the United States Spiritist Federation, and our spiritual beliefs are around scientific, philosophical, and religious principles of Spiritism. And as Emmanuel, the spirit mentor of Chico Xavier, taught us, knowledge and love are the wings for our spiritual evolution. And that's the reason why this service is divided into two parts. The first part, we always have someone speaking and sharing findings from remarkable and qualified mediums and spirits. During this moment, it's really important that you participate, you actively listen, since your mentor is already supporting you in your needs while you are hearing the insights from the speaker. We highly encourage you to take a piece of paper and take notes so that you can carry and work on those reflections along the week, which is what will really sustain the energy that you are already receiving here at the center. Then the second part, it's a hands-on healing pass where your mentor will be working with the BSH mediums and benefactors of the good for you to receive the healing energy. And we know that this is all a journey. So let me show you all the opportunities that we have for us to be together, learning and studying. On our website, bshcenter.org, here in this part where you go to meetings and events, you should find our whole schedule. So all the opportunities, again, that we have for us to be together. So on Sundays, we have the service from 10 to 11:30-ish Pacific time, where we have the educational healing, the educational presentation and the healing passes. In a daily basis, we get together for prayer at 6 p.m. Typically, it takes 15-20 minutes for you to pray, to receive, and for you to give. Everybody's welcome to join us. On Wednesdays at 4 p.m., we have fraternal counseling. If you all could give me just 1 minute. Oh, o bolota vai pegar. Cuidado. Sorry. So on Wednesdays, we have fraternal counseling, and this is a moment for you to share, for you to, we are here for you and with you if you are in any situations where you have someone, you need someone to be with you, we are here with you. This is a fraternal counseling. So if you need any other time that is not Wednesdays from 4 to 7, do let us know and we'll be happy to assign someone to talk to you. And then we have book studies, and those are all open to anyone. even if you haven't started since the beginning of the book, usually most of them are easy to catch up, and the group will also support you on catching up on the content. So on Sundays, we started by the end of July, Missionaries of the Light, a beautiful book written by André Luiz via Chico Xavier. On Tuesdays, we are working The Consoler, also written by Chico Xavier, written by Emmanuel through Chico Xavier. And this one is done in collaboration with the Divine Light Spiritist group, led by our sister Sunshine, who is going to be our speaker today. On Wednesdays, we are finishing the book Heaven and Hell by Allan Kardec. On Thursdays, we are reading the book Living Spring by Emmanuel via Chico Xavier. We also have mediumship services starting on Monday at 6:30 p.m. The first hour is educational mediumship, but for you to participate on that one, you have to finish the study on the introduction to spiritism and be invited to this one. And then the second part, it's not open for the public, it's only for the BSH mediums, and this is a healing service. So if you or anyone who you know is in need of any treatment, let us know. We'll be happy to put the person into the treatment book. Usually the treatment takes 4 weeks, and we highly encourage the person who is in treatment to stay in tune with their mentor, with Jesus Christ, with the divine during this moment, so that they can be open up to receive all the energy that will be working towards them. And without further ado, we will have today our beloved sister Sunshine talking to us about assistance. So please help me to give her a warm welcome and very much gratitude for you to be here, sister.
Thank you, dear Kiki, for the beautiful introduction. So I'm going to share the screen in a minute, and the talk is entitled Assistance. Now, I want to say that we all know about the material. We have studied it. We heard it for many, many years. So I'm inviting you all to not so much engage the mind, but the heart, to really use it as a therapeutic tool, this information that comes through today, for you to either during the talk or after the talk or tonight during your nightly review, to kind of see where am I at being charitable, essentially, at giving assistance. And we're going to come up with the help of Emmanuel with some definitions, so it's clear what assistance actually is and what it's not. So hang on there for a second. I'm going to share the screen, and then you're welcome to ask questions or make comments at the end. If something comes up pressing, of course, please do so during the talk as well. So let's see. Did this. All right. You guys see it?
Yes, sister, we can see it.
Perfect. Thank you so much. All right. So this whole talk is based on the beautiful book, Thought and Life, by the Spirit Emmanuel. And for those of you who have the book, it's chapter 23. There's a little bit of more material that I pull in, but essentially that's what the material is based on. So everything that's in orange in the talk is a sentence from the chapter, and I essentially go over 95, maybe even 98% of the sentences in this particular chapter in sequence. So it starts off by saying, Emmanuel says, assistance when giving freely. So here is the emphasis, freely, reflects the divine nature existing within the human race. So in other words, when we assist freely, without demand or payments, we reflect God. So here, a little sidebar. Many of us have been practicing charity and this free assistance. So I want to add to that as a therapeutic moment to see, am I really giving freely? Or is there a little bit of a thought, oh, maybe I'm going to help my karma, or maybe I'm going to get a thank you, oh, maybe I mean get a new friend out of this, or whatever it is. Is there some kind of a hidden little price tag attached? Question mark. So this is our therapeutic moment to really take that into our conversation with our mentors, God, Emmanuel, Jesus, to really see, do I actually do a little business deal in all my so-called free giving? Is there a little hidden price tag there that might even be hiding from me? So this is really an invitation for all of you. So what is duty? So let us go and look at that for a moment. Duty versus charity, free assistance. So when we go online, we see that the definition of duty is it's a moral or legal obligation, a responsibility. And what does Emmanuel say about duty? And it is in chapter 17 of the same book called The Profession. Selfless giving begins where duty ends. So again, we're invited to lean back at some point and see, where is my duties? Where are my duties? And where is my selfless giving? Is it even there? To what degree? What am I labeling as selfless giving, which is actually duty? Selfless giving, of course, equals charity. So when we go again to the book Thought and Life, chapter 21 now, the chapter of duty, and Emmanuel does dedicate a whole chapter to duty. He says duty, or he calls it regenerative duty, because by fulfilling our duty, we're helping our own undoing of karmic knots. So regenerative duty or duty is a series of activities in the arena of goodness that the Supreme Lord gives us the responsibility to execute. And a few more sentences, but then he ends it for our own self-development. So that's duty. That's not charity yet, right? Because we know selfless giving begins where duty ends. Assistance is beyond duty. In other words, charity begins when we've fulfilled our duties. Then he says, Emmanuel, our personality grows in stature and nobility as we yield to the desire of helping others. So when we assist freely, our personality grows. We raise our vibrations and we become more noble. It's a beautiful thing. Divine providence is a reservoir of infinite love, always giving and looking for channels of expression to distribute it. So in other words, we are continuously, for millennia and lifetimes upon lifetimes, at the receiving end of divine providence. Divine providence is always giving and looking for channels of expressing its love. Whoever accepts to do so receives with mathematical precision everything they need. So in other words, we are being flooded with divine providence. What are we doing with it? Are we holding on to it? Are we distributing it? And today we are in a renewed way, asked to distribute the incredible amount of gifts we are receiving and have been receiving. We will, as a result, receive back. And hopefully that's not our motivation, because then it starts becoming a little bit of a business deal again, right? But just as a sidebar, nothing will go unnoticed, even if the receiving party is not saying thank you or is maybe pushing us away. We will, on some bigger scheme, receive exactly what we need with mathematical precision. Now, it is what we need, Emmanuel says. He doesn't say what we want. So if I'm visualizing this red Porsche in front of my house, which, by the way, I don't, but some may, then that's a want. I may not ever get that because that's not what I need. But what I might need is cancer. And then we are asked to see it as divine providence looking out for us, because that's what I may need at this very moment. We receive what we need and not necessarily what we want. So to keep an open heart and to embrace all the vicissitudes of life is our goal, is our path, because all of it is a form of love. And we are then allowed, invited to distribute it, not the cancer, but the goodness, the love that we are able to pass on. It is necessary, however, that we be watchful about the collective thoughts within us so as not to hinder the eternal giving of our Father, who is always ready to share the riches he has bestowed upon us. We must not forget that we're always under the influence of others' thoughts, both in the realm of the incarnates that we are living in and discarnates. So there may be these voices whispering, oh, you've given enough, or they're ungrateful, they don't deserve it, or, well, you deserve a day of rest and just flip channels on your phone or wherever we are. So we need to see that the cultural pool that often says, wow, when are you going to start taking care of yourself? Of course, that's necessary, but to see it within the bigger picture of what Jesus modeled to us and what Emmanuel is helping to reiterate through this chapter again, to see it in that pool of we are constantly receiving, are we passing it on and not expecting anything back? Do we want to be a channel of the reservoir of infinite love is one of our therapeutic questions. Do we really want to be that? Do we really want to attune our GPS to God, to love, to see the good in everything, to be indulgent always with our brothers and sisters' faults, as we may call them, and to forgive ourselves and others continuously? A look at the principles of electricity, Emmanuel says, shows that there must be a complete circuit for the current to flow and produce its desired work. If there were no positive and negative poles, we would not be able to have electric lighting or motion. This is one of the examples that Emmanuel gifts us with to understand that the giving, all of what we're receiving, needs to move around and be passed out. The next example he's giving is by the same principle, spring water, to remain pure, must have an outlet. Any obstruction means stagnation and disease. In the book Healing and Self-Healing by Dr. Andre Morera, we studied for a whole year, or maybe even more, about exactly that. That we need to forgive, that we need to give, that our path needs to be one of charity in order to stay healthy. Because just like this pool on the right-hand side in the picture, if we just take and take, not just from God, but from our brothers and sisters also, from society, from everywhere, this is how we end up. And then we're surprised that all of a sudden we're getting sick. Because likely we've done it for many lifetimes. And this is the lifetime where we know better, right? If we're not divine channels of God's infinite love, we create stagnation and become sick. Then Emmanuel says the law of assistance permits one to ask for help, but it demands expansion of the benefits received so that the help does not become a hindrance. So see, he says the same thing again in just a little bit of a different angle. So while we are being assisted continuously, we are allowed to ask for help. But whatever we're receiving is what we need, and then we are invited to pass it forward, so that the help that we receive does not become a hindrance. As we saw in the previous slide, like this murky pool, we may become sick. The law of God is the law of assistance. It's the law of charity, love, and justice. If we're questioning what is actually the law of God, the law of assistance, the law of charity, love, and justice means, let us turn to the Spirit's book, the last part. There is a whole section dedicated to this with questions and answers, incredibly helpful for us, for the mind to understand what it in its detail means. Furthermore, we are invited to turn to the Gospel according to Spiritism, for example, chapter 27. There is a section, Ask and you shall receive, page 397, 398. This goes beyond our little talk here, but we're giving this to you, so maybe afterwards you take a peek. If we don't give what we have received, we get sick, right? So this is our new perspective. Now, we're again invited to go to the Gospel according to Spiritism, this time chapter 26. And there we learn that give freely what you have received freely. So these messages come from all angles in the Spiritist literature. So this talk is just a reminder. So this is on page 379 in the Gospel according to Spiritism. Then Emmanuel says, people who know how to handle their many possessions are like a water reservoir serving the community. They are emissaries of progress, sustained by hope, health, security, and happiness. So this is how we create a fulfilled life, a life where we wake up in the morning and excited to be here in this incarnation, filled with gratitude. We know we're receiving continuously and nonstop, and we're here to share. And then we become emissaries of progress. So this is really important because many of us look around outside in the world in all the different fields and are maybe not so happy of what we see. But does our criticism, is that progress? Do we read anywhere, or has Jesus modeled to us that we criticize what's going on, that we pretend we know better, that we put others down? None of that Jesus ever modeled to us. But here we see, how can we be emissaries of true progress? We're sharing the gifts we've been receiving. That's what turns the world into a better place. And with that, we're likely very busy fulfilling our duties and going beyond to assisting others, to give freely of what we've received freely. Then Emmanuel goes on and says, on the other hand, those who accumulate many possessions without using them to improve the community are like murky swamps alongside the road. Unhappy misers, surrounded by anguish and fear, solitude and emptiness. So here's, of course, another beautiful therapeutic question. We wanted to ask ourselves, am I really giving freely in my life? Or do I have any hidden price tag attached, which makes it a business deal? And it's not free giving. Secondly, on a scale of 0 to 10, do I still have miserly, attitudes? In the little book, Money. This is the little book, Money. I'm sure many of you have it. It's also by the Spirit Emmanuel. On page 153, we learn that the miser of material goods is the lender of disapproval, but the miser of love is worthy of pity. We all have so much love and receive so much love. Let us just let it spray and mist into the world rather than all of our upset, criticism and anger, frustration, whatever it may be. Of course, we always learn in the therapies, it's important to express them, but is that our totality? No. We are invited to share the love that we continuously receive, because unhappy misers surrounded by anguish, fear, and solitude and emptiness might be at the end of our life. And we don't want to be worthy of pity. And we all have love to share. Then in Thought and Life, chapter 22, under guilt, so the chapter is entitled Guilt. We learn from Manuel that we develop feelings of guilt whenever we avoid fulfilling our duty. So this is duty. He even speaks about duty, right? This then leads to various shades of remorse that thereby activate an infiltration of darkness within the delicate tissues of our soul. The mental reflexes undergo painful, haunting memories, which slowly drip poison into our thoughts. So he's not even talking about charity, he's talking about duty. So one step that's it's even more of a must, right? To fulfill our duties. We will feel guilty, whether we actually feel it overtly or not. It's in us, and it will cloud our own mind, our hearts, our whole entire body, because it will be dripping poison into our thoughts. And thought is life, right? Our thoughts and our feelings will determine ultimately also our physical health. And there's a lot of people on this planet who have mental challenges, illnesses. And we wonder, is it potentially related, just simply, related to fulfilling their duties? So we don't want to go there. In other words, let us be vigilant. So Emmanuel is really giving us all the tools. And then in the chapter 10 of Thought and Life, which is entitled Understanding, he says to undo, and this is really important, we've quoted it a million times, to undo the handcuffs of evil we have forged against our own souls, our souls. We must see goodness, we must feel goodness, we must visualize goodness, and mold goodness with all the resources we can muster. That is really a call to give it our all, isn't it? And goodness is fulfilling our duties. Goodness is being of assistance. Goodness is practicing charity. Goodness is fulfilling the golden rule, and the list goes on. Goodness is loving God above all else and our neighbors as ourselves. We know all the teachings, and it's so much more. But here we see, this is our recipe for success and to be an instrument of progress in the world. Because what we see outside likely lives inside of us too. Let's not forget that. But we can make a difference. And Emmanuel is showing us how. So here's our lovely question. On a scale of 1 to 10, are we misers? And it's good, we don't need to talk. We won't need to talk about it. This is how this is between us and our mentors. This is between us and Jesus. This is between us and God. And we are invited to be honest. Then in the chapter of assistance, Emmanuel continues, when we help our neighbor, we reflect God's blessing working through us. Remember, we're continuously on the receiving end of goodness. And when we help our neighbors, we reflect God's blessings working through us. We're passing it forward. To work discreetly. And so he's now fine-tuning of how we are invited to give freely, to be charitable. He says to work discreetly. In true service is to reflect God to those around us. We're reminded of the gospel according to Spiritism, chapter 13, page 216 and ongoing. Do not let the left hand know what the right hand is doing. So we are not only invited to give freely, but also discreetly. I'm sure we all remember the story of the lady with her daughter who was very rich and dressed in rags and went out with her daughter to help the sick and the poor. She is a true example of giving discreetly. Then Emmanuel says, friends in the spirit world will silently draw near us and give us their total assistance when we fulfill everything he sets of heart, when we are able to fulfill our duty and beyond that, give freely, living a charitable life. Then friends in the spirit world will silently, also discreetly, right? Silently draw near us and give us their total assistance. This happens when we let God's love and assistance flow through us and when we become of assistance without expecting anything in return. This and prayer are the best protection from attracting low-level spirits as well. And it helps us to educate and release our obsessors eventually. It's less so than visualizing white light around us. It's actually more a lifestyle. It's really doing the good. It is really changing our whole being. That's how we burst those handcuffs away from us and how we release ourselves from our obsessors. He says, help everyone with feeling, thoughtfulness, kind words, and action. This is what Emmanuel says in the chapter. Help everyone with feeling, thoughtfulness, kind words, and action. Then let us not forget, therefore, that the help we offer other people without demand or payment is our silent prayer for divine help, which is always answered with the blessings of cooperation and supply. So let us not forget that when we help, offer help to other people, however, without demand, expectations, payments, right? None of those strings attached. So I don't think it's so easy for us. I don't want to make any assumptions. It may be very easy for you. But if we really fine tune and really examine ourselves, right? And that's what we're invited to today. Then what we're giving, divine help, will come to us always and has been coming to us always. So here in summary, to assist others is to become a channel of God's love. To assist others is to pray silently for divine help. To assist others is to be surrounded by spirit friends. Friends, not obsessors. To assist others is to receive multiplied assistance in return. And yet we're not going to assist because that's what we want, right? To assist others is to stay healthy and potentially also to heal illnesses, right? Jesus helped so many who were sick, but invariably he said, go and change your life. Don't go back through the town. Take a different route, which means do your inner transformational work to heal. This is part of that. To assist others is to be emissaries of hope, health, security, and happiness. Again, to reflect back on our world situation, it seems to be a very perfect message for our times. If I need to do anything, then it is where I am right now. I can always be of assistance. I can even be of assistance when I'm sick in bed through my thoughts and feelings. Praying for others, sending positive thoughts, raising awareness. We assist to be an emissary of progress. Jesus modeled love. In short, he modeled love. It changed the world to this day. And we can do the same with within our own tiny little world, our own little puzzle piece that we are. But we will make a difference. We will be emissaries of progress. And we're invited to visualize, feel, seek, and mold the good 24/7, nonstop, even when we're asleep. In closing, I wanted to remind us of the prayer for peace. And you're invited to close your eyes and let us pray it. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, let me sow hope. Where there is darkness, let me sow light. And where there is sadness, joy. O Divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive. It is in pardoning that we are pardoned. And it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. Saint Francis of Assisi. Thank you, everyone. God bless you.
Oh, sister, my heart.
Emmanuel never fails, right?
Never.
He's so clear. I love him.
And it's
He
so
wrote a lot of books, and it's always good to review them or go through them because they give you a different perspective. And if you haven't been able to connect to certain thoughts or ways of looking at yourself or inner change, it gives you great ideas. And there's never enough ways to express charity. I recently I, got a real clear picture of it when I was reading chapter 15. I forgot the number, but anyway, charity is like love, respect, kindness, benevolence, all of it is they're kissing cousins in my opinion. It's really a profound uh thing to incorporate in your life, charity without ostentation, judgment, give me because I gave you, it's a blessing to hear it again. Thank you so much, Sunshine. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Mosen, you're on mute.
You're on mute, brother.
Mhm.
Thank you, Sunshine. That was very nice and beautiful presentation. I am sorry that I cannot understand all of that because that's like the water that you can get on the little one when you are so thirsty. But at any rate, a little one is still good. I should be thankful for that. And I understood that as a teacher, when I was mostly working as a teacher, is that was my duty. But other the duty, what we do, is when we do everything with love and we have the model. We should know that what Jesus did and try to be Jesus. He said himself, if you do what I did, then you can do more than what I did. And that is, we have learned what he did and how he did. And the most important is to understand that he did everything with love and no exception. For him, everybody was the same. And here you talked about the goodness, and you said goodness is love, unconditional love. When you love everything and everybody the same, unconditionally, then you are doing what Jesus wanted to do and did it. Thank you very much again. Thank you, Sunshine.
Thank you, Mosen.
Thank you, Sunshine. Just as you said, the manual is just full of nuggets. I have a question for you that struck me halfway through. What advice would you give anyone regarding the reality of news, the reality of daily information, and how to not overreact, cope? Is it all about turning off the sound? Or is it all about digesting it differently?
I think that's a good question for everyone. I can only say what I do is I filter it. I do very little of it because the question, I do it only to the degree that I practice charity with it. And then if I fall into criticism and head shaking and God knows what else, cursing, then I know I'm not helpful anymore. Because we've seen here in this chapter, how can I be an instrument of progress? How can I stay in love, so to speak? And many times I unplug, because if I listen to it or not, it's not going to make a difference, does it now? But when I go out and practice love, or even in my thoughts, I don't even have to go out, then I make a difference. So that's my short answer.
And I also think practicing love is, especially because of what we're learning and that we are supposed to practice, even if it isn't perfect, no one knows how imperfect it is but you and God. And that's the another part of this key is for you to put in practice what you should do, or what comes in front of you, and oftentimes, I have to say, I'm not in love with every one of my relatives, but it's not my job to tell them that, and I don't want them to feel that, because that's not charity. That's not love. And that's not me putting what I learned into practice. So that's just another way of how I look at it. And I'm sticking to it.
Listen to you guys, the wonderful presentation, Sunshine. One thought comes to mind is that is to receive is to give, and vice versa, right? So if we are investing in improvement of ourselves, the core values, and everything that we do becomes a charity type of work, and returning to the universe what we are receiving from the universe naturally without measurement or prejudice, then we are doing what's asked of us. So I really, I think that that's the basic lesson that I take from these presentations, that we need to pay attention to our core values. Who am I? What am I building on myself? And what's my contribution? So in anything that we do, in my work, in my relationship with the society, with the friends, with the community, it, I need to be this person giving, exuding this love that we are receiving. Because when I take, become like a hoarder of benefits and don't give it out, I am impoverishing myself and I'm hurting myself and I'm hurting others. That's what happens with the values of our society. Look at how many people they are just hoarding all this power, all this love, and hurting others, and they don't care because they want to prevail. So that's what's really hurting us at this point. Of course, we are just little drops in this huge ocean of water, but we have the ability to make a contribution. In one of the previous presentations, that was the importance of what am I contributing for? What, what am I doing? Because you don't need to go out and do labor things and do this to show that, okay, I'm doing this. No, your thoughts, your words, right? Everything that you're communicating, that's the work. But if it comes from the core values of enlightenment and love, that's the major contribution. Thank you for the presentation, Sunshine.
Yeah, thank you, Charles. And I wanted to just quickly get back to say one more thing to Mark. You know, I mean, the answer is actually very clear for us to your question. What did Jesus do? Huh? Did he go out and grapple with the Sanhedrin? Did he go out and confront Caesar? He was the governor of this planet, Jesus is, right? So he focused on charity. Thank you.
There's a message in the chat from Nora. Thank you, Sunshine. And I love, how you said, the basic of the presentation about assistance, and you said, Jesus modeled that for us, and some of us might be thinking, oh well, I'm not Jesus, but we also can look into other people who have modeled this. The first one that comes to my mind is Mother Teresa. I mean, she did all that she did because it was right. It wasn't because, she was getting some accolade or, no, even that it was her nun order or whatever. Nelson Mandela, Gandhi, there's just so many of people that have done, amazing things just because it was right. And I think I remember being told, when you feel that impulse to do something, for the good, do it. Because when we hesitate, it's so amazing how the moment's gone. And I've seen that happen to me over and over again. I mean, it can be something as simple as I see someone, standing out with a sign and I think, oh, let me go back, and I go back and then they're gone, So it's really important to just do it. And you're right, because once we start the column of the pros and cons, forget it. It's like, it's no longer charity. And I think though, as long as we continue to see ourselves as separate and not recognize, that we are one, we need to listen. We need to hear this, because they say in the future, we won't be able to walk past the person on the street who's suffering without feeling their pain. So I think it's part of our evolution. We're heading in that direction. And perhaps this is, you know, the law of destruction, which normally happens before the law of progress. And so much enlightenment that comes as a result of it. So, you know, it's a good message for all of us to hear and to press forward, you know, coming to realize that we are all really one. And it's when we relate to that idea that I'm separate from you, that's where we feel suffering. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Teresa. Yeah, fantastic. Thank you. And I wanted to honor Nora by reading her message and say, Dear Sunshine, thank you so much for such a lovely message and for including the prayer of St. Francis of Assisi. It reminds us that true peace begins within, that every call to bring light where there is darkness begins in the quiet transformation of the heart. The outer world changes as the inner heart awakens. We can see this in simple human moments. These moments may seem ordinary, but they are where the spirit learns to grow. Thanks, blessings. So beautiful. Thank you, Nora. So true.
If I may, one last thought is that I once heard you saying that we don't have what we want, we have what we are.
Thank you, Sunshine, again. And I believe that we are all as God's assistant. And that is when we feel that we are assistant of God, our action should be the same what God does it. And that is we cannot change the world with the words, with the books, with the talking. We can change the world with our action. Our action should be so that what we are. And especially with the young people, they don't like that we say you have to do that and that, or you have this thing done wrong. They need that to watch us, what we do, and they learn from what we do. As the parents, when they say you should not do something wrong, when the children see that they do something wrong, they cannot believe them, and they lost the faith. Thank you very much again.
Thank you, everyone. Sister, that was absolutely beautiful. I think that when we truly allow the message to hit the bottom of our heart, we are able to get all the strength and everything that is needed for us to be of assistance. So thank you so much for touching our hearts. I hope that everybody gets out of here today with a little bit more idea of how we can always be of assistance. Thank you. All right, everyone. So I will stop the live stream and I will give us 2 minutes for us to come back and do the second part.